Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of our Crash Bandicoot series. Today JC, Brandon, and I are talking about Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. So grab your Aku Aku mask and get ready to find some power crystals on this episode of Tilted.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Tilted, the exceptional podcast for the average. I'm one of your hosts, JC, with the usual suspects, Brandon and Chip. What's going on, guys?
Not much.
What's going on, boss man?
Not much. Doing well, guys. Getting excited to talk about Crash 2, Cortex Strikes Back. Originally out in 97, recently came out as part of the Insane Trilogy for Nintendo and for the Switch and Xbox. Looks great and wholly nostalgia. Now, in keeping with the other episode that we did on Crash, this is part 2. Chip, if you could please jump into the lore for us, I think that'd be a good place to start.
You beat Cortex in Crash 1. Cortex finds the power crystals and tricks you into finding them. Jump over pit, spin turtle, win game. That's more or less it. It's there's really no lore to it. It's like Cortex has a Doomsday device. He needs the crystals. He tricks Crash because now they've gone with the shtick that Crash is like stupid. He's just dumb now from the experiments. So they're like, all right, we're gonna trick Crash into doing it because apparently he's the only competent person on the planet. That's pretty much it.
In keeping with Crash games, the lore is right here, and one of my favorite parts is the bosses. And I think in the second game, the bosses just got absolutely hysterical. So we're going to start off with Ripperoo. Chip, can you tell us about the Professor?
Ripperoo is he's just so funny. Like you show up and he's at his little waterfall chilling, and he has like professor's cap on. He's at a desk with books and he's reading, and then it pans out and he still has the straight jacket on. He just like he chases you at TNTs, and you gotta just basically play keep away until you can spin him. But he's crazy. He only talks and laughs, but he's a professor.
I really like where there's the two parts of it. So in the first part, he's like the put together professor with the glasses and things like that. And then when he explodes on the TNT, and then when he does the second part of the fight with the Nitro, when he just like his like it's like an afro just busts out and he's just having a great time.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like then you see like more CTR crazy Crash, like you were saying before when you and I were talking about it, getting ready for the show, is where he's just absolutely insane. He just starts laughing instead of talking.
Crash Team Racing is a game for another show, but Ripper is one of the bosses. And when he like they have little monologues with you before you race them, and everyone talks and there's subtitles, and Ripper just laughs, and the subtitles have different words. He's like Groot. Like Groot says, "I am Groot," but he has everything's different. I love Ripper.
You totally understand, yeah. I think he's again one of my favorite bosses in any game ever because he's just absolutely hysterical.
Yep.
Now, one of the more I think interesting bosses is the Komodo brothers. Now, forget their names, Joe and Mo.
Joe
and Mo
is the skinny one that gets slapped around and spins, and then Mo is the fat one that does the slap.
The slap.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite things because it's just absolutely hysterical. Where you just no matter where you spin, Joe, the one that falls. After he gets slapped and spins, you can hit him completely away from his brother, but he will bounce off the walls with the same exact speed and then slam into the guy in the middle. And you just kind of sit there and you're like, did that really just happen? And then you just kind of slowly walk around and avoid the throwing swords. And then you're like, okay, well, that was the boss fight. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was like I'm pretending I'm playing horse with the Komodo brothers when I play that, because I'll be like the Joe will be on the ground being dazed. You go to spin him, I'll be like, bank, called it. Gotta hit the bank shot. But yeah, they just slap each other and spin around. And then in Crash fashion, for some reason, when they're done, they both like land on top of each other like this. They're just like laying face down and they're just laying with yeah. I love it.
Joe also making a return in a CTR.
Yeah, he is there. Yeah, he's in it too.
I love CTR.
We'll have to do CTR at some point.
I need them. They need to remake this game, please. I think after how successful they saw this was, then I think that tells them that the community, we're ready for it. We're ready for it. And I think it would sell like
Oh
absolutely.
my God, can you imagine online CTR?
Oh my god.
Please. Okay,
Some
Some
of
of
Sony.
us would be
Sony,
playing that
Sony, if
24/7.
you're listening, remake CTR with online for the love of any god that's out there.
You have 3 sales right here. Right here. We are ready for
I will give you all the money that I have to my name.
it. All right, we'll jump right on. Let's go to Tiny Tiger. Yeah, Chip, you want to jump into this one for me?
Yeah, it's a 3x3 grid of platforms, and he just kind of like chases you as you hop from one to another. And as you're hopping, you got to jump. Like some start to fall, and they give you a little trigger warning, and you got to jump over them. So as they're like falling, Tiny's jumping over them, so he falls to his death. And it gets kind of difficult towards the end because like more fall, and it's hard to like trace out a path for safety. But like I love it because when Tiny jumps and he realizes there's no platform behind him, he's like Wile E. Coyote, and he like hovers in the air for a second. He like flaps his arms, and then he falls. I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I just love that there's a 3x3 floating grid, and it's like over a chasm, and there's a tiger trying to jump onto a bandicoot. Like I just
Yep.
like I've got here in the show notes, Tiny Tiger, the jumping tiger on 3x3 grid, and it's just like, okay, he just like rips open the center, and he's like, "I'm gonna get you, Crash."
Yeah. There's so many questions. Like, why is Crash there? Like, why didn't Tiny wait the 3 seconds for the door to open? Like, he just like tears the doors off. It's like, come on, man, we gotta pay for this stuff. Stop trying to jump across the floating falling bridge that we made. Like, who made the floating falling bridge in the space station in the first place? He's the person we should be talking to.
Send him to HR, please. We need to talk to him.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Just going off hilarious space themes. Chip, can you please tell me about Engine?
Oh, he has a giant.
I love this fight.
He's like a giant like Gundam robot mech, and Crash's only attacks are like spin and slide in this game. Excuse me. So then he looks at it and he's like, "Damn, I can't spin or slide this thing. Whatever shall I do? I'm just gonna throw fruit at it. I guess that's all I really got." And it's just like it opens its vulnerable points, and Crash just starts doing this, throwing fruit. I guess hoping the Wumpa fruit like gum up the machinery, and I guess it works as eventually the parts explode and an engine flies off into space. These games are ridiculous. These games are absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like a giant floating like laser thing where like at one part it's the hands shooting the lasers at you, then it's the rockets, and then it's the ray that makes them disappear, makes the platforms disappear. And Crash is just hopping, throwing some fruit at it, just like, it's cool, man. Don't even worry about it, guys. It's totally fine. I just thought that was hilarious. Just like watching that. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, for the first time I saw that, all I could think of was like people who egg other people's houses, but like do it in front of them. Or like those kids that throw snowballs at moving cars. Like everyone sees you. Why are you doing this? You're just being a nuisance. Why did you blow up my giant mech? Oh my god, these games are great.
With Root. And then to close out the bosses, I think one like disheartening boss fights ever is where you chase Cortex through a little rocket piece and then you spin at him. It's just like,
Did you say disheartening? Did you say disheartening?
yeah, it's just so sad because like you go through like Engine, like, and I think you were saying earlier where the boss before Cortex is always the harder boss, and then you just get to Cortex and you're like, okay. I think the boss fight in 3 is pretty difficult. The end boss fight in 3.
I think the whole point of Cortex is the fact that like he's incompetent. So like his fight is going to be easy because he's just terribly incompetent.
But
Like,
he's supposed to be a super genius.
yeah, like off the top of my head, I can't, if I'm wrong, someone correct me, but I can't think about another boss that like outright, maybe Koala Kong from the first one, I guess. Like there's no boss that outright like gives you the ability to stop him. Like in the first game, he shoots rays that you have the ability to spin back at him. Like he makes projectiles specifically so Crash can spin them back at him. In the second one, you just got to catch him, and he's not really that fast, so you just like catch him and spin him. In the third one, which we'll get to, the hard part about that is the masks fighting in the middle. Like Cortex
Yeah,
himself,
it's not Cortex.
Cortex himself is really easy. So I think the whole point about Cortex is like he's really incompetent, even though he's supposed to be a super genius. Like I know in later games, one of the stories is like there's an evil genius school that he went to, and he has such fond memories of it. And class president, blah blah blah. But like he was last in his class, and everybody hated him. But he graduated, so he's still considered a super evil doctor, a super genius doctor, right? So
that's the kind of lore we need in Crash. That rich backstory.
I think it's in the one called Twinsanity. I think so. But like, he's like, I'm a super genius and I'm an evil doctor and it's great. But he's really incompetent, which is I think the best part. Because you think that boss is gonna be the hardest, but it's not because Cortex's character is just not good at things.
Yeah. Oh, Cortex. Now going into the part of the games that I think actually really, really tilt me. And again, full disclosure, terrible at this game. I'm absolutely god awful.
He's trash.
Oh yeah, it's I don't know what I like mid-20s. Like I'm still struggling with a game that's made for like early teenagers, and it's just like the sliding and the spinning apparently is just and the platforming is just it's too much for me to handle. But I think some of the worst levels for me were misbehaving. And I want to kind of draw this one out. So you start at the beginning of the level, there's a random guy with a hammer, and you're like, okay, this is fine. And you just kind of either spin him or kind of walk by him. And then you get to the bees, and you're like, okay, I can spin the bees. That's okay. I just kind of sprinted past them because I couldn't time the spins correctly. I realized if you kind of try to go in a circle and spin them, it worked better. But still, just, again, terrible at this game. Full disclosure. Then when it gets to the bees, the guy chasing you, and then the electric fence, that one was too much for me. I struggled to get through that one. And then good.
No, so there's one part in that level I remember where you have to like slide jump. It's like a gate, but then there's immediately a hole, so you have to slide jump real quick. And if you're not good at it, you either just run face first into the gate or slide right into the pit.
You don't say.
Yeah, did that ever happen to you, JC?
Yes, I think this is a level also with the plants that spit the exploding venom. And so you get to a checkpoint, and I'm just rolling through this level. I'm like, all right, sweet, I gotta be close to the end. And there's a checkpoint, and I'm like, okay, cool. I got like 10 or 12 lives at this point. And there's the level, or there's the edge of the cliff or the platform, and then there's a central like a pole up in the air where you can jump to, and then there's the other side of the chasm. So it's literally just one jump over. There's a plant that spits this exploding lava. It lands there for a second and then explodes. I proceeded to spawn in this checkpoint, get up, die to the same explosion, respawn, jump again because I thought it would reset, apparently. And it did perfectly to exactly how I died the first time. And then I did, I think, a third time where, and this is also while Chip is watching, so I pull my laptop right in front of my TV to watch it as I'm playing on Xbox. And Xbox I think it's for the PlayStation. I have for the PlayStation. Yep. And so Chip's watching it, and I spawn, and I'm like, I like it this time. And so I wait. And then I jump. And die on the same rotation when it comes back around, the same exact way, and I've seen you die 5 or 6 times, just continually like this. And Chip's watching it, and he's dying, like he's literally just like he's now if you're watching this on YouTube, he's just literally almost in tears watching this, and then it gets to the game over screen, and I'm just sitting there, and my hands are in my face, and I'm just like, I hate this game. And he's like, JC, just wait for it to explode, then jump. It's not that hard. And I'm like, shut up, dude. I got this. I waited, and then I jumped, and it was fine. But that level was still awful.
I watched him game over from like 8 lives in a matter of like 10 seconds. He just kept doing the same thing over and over and over again. And like, I was JC, you're so red about talking about it.
It's so tilting.
I wanted to
bad.
I wanted to give him advice, but I couldn't breathe. Like, cause I was just laughing so hard. Because he did it once, and I was like, okay, fair enough, whatever. And he did it again, and I started laughing. And he did it 2 more times, and I was like, use your brain, man. Stop for 1 second. Just stop and count the timing.
Yeah, well, again, glad this is a show called Tilted, the official podcast for the average gamer. Now, the second level that really, really hit home for me was Cold Hard Crash.
JC doesn't like ice physics in games.
No, I don't like ice. I don't like 2D platforming. I don't like any the whole the whole series I just had a really hard time with. But in Cold Hard Crash, one of the things that was really difficult for me, and it just for some reason was a very difficult thing for me to do with the tree trunk or whatever the heck it is just falling down. I game over to that probably 15 or 20 times. That was just real brutal because I didn't think to slide jump. I just like, oh, I can jump this perfectly. I just get to get close to the edge, and then I would just jump and either fall short. And then once I figured to slide jump, then I continued to get smashed a couple times.
Was that when you told me you didn't know that slide jumping was a thing?
Mm-hmm. I think we're like midway through the game.
Yeah, I think that was when I told you they had to slide jump or something like that, and then you're like, "Oh, thanks, Brandon."
Yeah, easy peasy once we got through that.
But this level's like on the third warp. By the way, you guys, this isn't like first warp nonsense. It's like well into the game.
Yeah, and I got through that. Didn't miss a beat, but then I got to that, and it just really hit me. Are there any levels, Chip, that you can think of off the top of your head? Is this the one where it's the side of the slippery climb, where it's the castle?
No. That's Crash 1. That's Slippery Climb or whatever. I don't know. This one didn't really have a lot of hard level.
Speak for yourself, Chip.
There was two jetpack ones in the final warp room. They were kind of tough because you're no longer moving in only 2 dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
So like in Crash, you're either running forward, like you're either running away from the camera or towards the camera, but you're always just going in that straight line and jumping.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're going 2D like along the screen this way, left or right. So you're just moving 2 dimensions, right? But now once you're in jetpack, you can go side to side, up and down, and then forwards and backwards. So it literally became like a 3D-esque game, and it's really awkward to control once you get to that point in the game because if you're playing it in one sitting or that's the only game you're playing, you're so used to just the 2D nature of it. Now you have to actually use the whole controller and not just the X button and the arrows. They were pretty tough. As always, the levels that are like in the dark that you need like the Aku Aku mask to like light the way for you.
Yep.
They're always a blast, especially when you get hit and your mask goes away, and now you pause the game and like you turn the brightness all the way up and the contrast all the way up on your monitor so you can somewhat see what's happening behind you. That's a pain, but other than that, no, there wasn't really any tough levels, I don't think, in this one. The polar bear ones were kind of tough. They were really fun riding the polar bear.
I love riding the polar bear.
But like those levels aren't. If you have good reactions, those levels aren't hard. And if you don't have good reactions, they're still not hard because you literally just like
memorize them.
You just memorize the pattern. Yeah. But those are fun. I love in the polar bear ones or like any of the ice ones, or especially the polar ones when if you fall into the water as Crash. And he comes up like he's frozen in the ice cube, like shivering, but the polar bear's just sitting on top of the ice cube, like nothing happened, just like hanging out. It's great.
Perfect segue into the death animations. Again, we said in the first one that death animations, and that honestly, I think this makes the game the death animations because they are just so perfect. One of my favorites is in Misbehaving when you get stung by the bees, and then you just see his 2 feet just one after the other blow up, and then his hands blow up, and then his face just becomes huge, and he just looks at the camera and he's like, "Why did you do this to me? Why?"
Yeah, I like the polar one that I just said. There's one with when the big polar bear's chasing you. If you die, he'll stop and he'll look right into the camera and laugh, and you're like, "Wow, thanks, polar bear. I know I feel bad enough about myself." Or in like the Behaving one, where if you're underground and the guy with the mallet hits you, just like nothing happened, just like a tombstone like comes out of nowhere from the ground. It's like, all right, I guess. Or when Crash hits fire and like his whole body instantly turns to ash because he's just a little too warm. Yeah, there's really good ways to die in these games. They're really funny.
Yeah, I think the third one is that is the best in my opinion. But death animations in the third one are just absolutely hysterical, and I can't wait till we cover that next week.
They're good. They're real good.
Yeah. So wrapping it up, ratings for this one. Where do you rate it?
It's the second best. It's the second best. I mean, the first game's always the hardest. It is always thought of as the hardest. The second one is great. It adds on to what was lacking in the first one, which wasn't much. You know, it added the slide and the slide jump and maybe belly flop. Not 100% sure you can belly flop in the second one. But it added stuff to the game without changing the game entirely. And it was enough to make it feel different while still doing the same old Crash stuff. It's better than the first, not better than the third. It's just we can talk for an hour and 20 minutes on the third game because it's just so good. So 2 out of 3. That's my rating. Brandon, what about yours, bud?
I haven't played too much of Crash 2 itself, so I don't have too much to go on, but I mean, I guess I'd pretty much go the same route as you, is it probably improved on a lot of the shortcomings of the first game. So yeah, I'd place it second out of the 3.
JC, how about you, bud?
Yeah, I'm gonna be right there with you guys. It was a little less tilting for me than one. One was just absolutely unbearable, and I don't know why. 2, again, a little better. 1 and 2, I never had actually as a kid, so this is my first time kind of playing them now, owning them. I had 3, so I think that's when I go back to 3. I think that's why I have that really heavy feeling of nostalgia with it, because I played it. I remember, doing all the different levels that we're going to talk about. Be able to really jump into that one. Brent, I think you had 3, didn't you?
I didn't have 3, but I had a friend who had it, because he had like a bundle that had like Crash 3, CTR, and Crash Bash in it.
Crash Bash.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So that's where a large majority of my Crash experience resides, but I was a huge fan of 3, so I'm glad I'm finally getting the chance to actually play 1 and 2 now.
Real quick, for those of you who don't know what Crash Bash is, it was Naughty Dog and Sony's reply
attempt
at a Mario Party type game, and it's so good. It's so good.
Were super frustrating, but there's other ones that were just an absolute blast to play all the time.
So the pogo stick one sucked, but anything besides the pogo stick.
Pogo sticks are the ones I'm talking about. But like the ones where it's the you have to bounce the balls back and forth into each other's goals.
Yeah, that's so good.
So good, especially with like all the power ups and stuff you get for it.
That's a discussion for another show.
Yeah.
Vicarious Vision, Sony, Xbox, guys, we're telling you what we're looking.
Crash Bash, CTR, you'll have us forever.
Absolutely. You've got three sales for right there. Well, I think that'll about wrap it up. So that's all we got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the show. And until the next time, take a deep breath, take control of your emotions, or you might just get tilted.